Welcome to the 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast of the Illinois Air National Guard at Scott Air Force Base. I'm your host this week, Tech Sergeant Brian Ellison. The 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast focuses on people, mission, and community. Coming up, we'll be speaking with Chaplain Captain Ryan McDaniel of the 126th Chaplain's Office. We'll be talking to him about the chaplain's role at a personnel deployment function. Coming up this Sunday, August 4th at 12 o'clock in the Maintenance Auditorium, motivational speaker Dr. Olivia Johnson will be speaking about battles off the battlefield. Lunch will be provided that day. That's Sunday, August 4th at 12 in the Maintenance Auditorium. Dr. Olivia Johnson will have ideas on incorporating physical, spiritual, emotional, and psychological wellness into your everyday routine. You want to find out more information about this talk to get registered, you can contact lindashu.civ at mail.mil. That's Linda Shu. You can, of course, look her up on Global. Her email is linda.a.schuh.civ at mail.mil. Get in touch with her to register for Battles Off the Battlefield with Dr. Olivia Johnson this Sunday, August 4th at noon. Lunch will be provided. The 126th Air Refueling Wing Strong Bonds Couples Training, Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage, is coming up in September. It's September 20th through the 22nd, beginning on Friday at 1700, ending Sunday at 1300. It's open to all Illinois Air National Guard married couples. Spouses must have a DoD dependent ID card. Accommodations, retreat materials, and meals will be provided. Unfortunately, no child care will be provided. For more information or to receive registration information during drill weekends, contact your unit, religious support team, or Chaplain Lieutenant Colonel Lindsay Laughlin, 618-570-6188. Contact, again, your religious support team during drill weekends to find out about this 126th Air Refueling Wing Strong Bonds Couples Training. Between drill weekends, contact Linda Shu, 618-363-1426. That's 618-363-1428. And like I said, we'll be talking with Chaplain Captain Ryan McDaniel coming up in just a little bit here on the 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast. Do you know someone who can benefit from all the 126th Air Refueling Wing has to offer? Contact Tech Sergeant Rashad Phillips, 618-222-5700, or call his cell, 618-698-2968. Or you could also email him. He's on the Global, rashad.t.phillips.mil at mail.mil. Right now, positions are open for a 3E4X1 water and fuel system maintenance and a 3E5X1 engineering. The Illinois Air National Guard offers a monthly paycheck. I mean, who can't use one of those? A free college tuition, low-cost health insurance, which to me I think is fantastic. That's TRICARE Reserve Select. We've had an operation in my family, and boy, I am thankful that we had that. There's so many more benefits. Contact Tech Sergeant Rashad Phillips, 618-222-5700. That's 618-222-5700, or cell 618-698-2968. Coming up in just a few minutes, my conversation with Chaplain Captain Ryan McDaniel, the 126th Chaplain's Office, taking time to talk to us about the chaplain's role during a personnel deployment function. September is Suicide Prevention Month, and that Sunday of drill, which is September 8th at 0700, we are having a 126th Air Refueling Wing 3K run. It's a 1.8-mile run, so a third of a mile farther than our PT test. T-shirts will be available for a fee. There'll be prizes given out to the fastest runner. It won't be me. You can find out more from Linda Shu, Contact her through email, linda.a.schuh.civ@mail.mil. Schuh is spelled SCHUH. You can contact her to register for the 126th Air Refueling Wing 3K run. Registration, again, is free. If you are having thoughts of suicide or you know someone in crisis, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-8255. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is a national network of local crisis centers that provides free and confidential emotional support to people in suicidal crisis or emotional distress 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're committed to improving crisis services and advancing suicide prevention by empowering individuals, advancing professional best practices, and building awareness. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's answered locally right here in our area. They have offices all over the country, and each time you call 1-800-273-TALK, it is answered by someone locally in our area. Again, it's 1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-8255. That's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. There is also folks to chat with at the Lifeline if you want to chat with them through their website, suicidepreventionlifeline.org. That's suicidepreventionlifeline.org. Want to do it through text? A lot of people are using text these days. Another way to get a hold of them is by texting the word HELP, H-E-L-P, to 741-741. That's the crisis text line. If you are in need or you know someone who's in an emotional crisis, have them text the word HELP to 741-741. We're here today with Chaplain Captain Ryan McDaniel from the 126th Air Refueling Wing Chaplain's Office. Sir, I noticed you back in June at the personnel deployment function. What is the chaplain's role at a PDF?
The chaplain is required to be there at the PDF, along with a religious affairs airman. And the role of the chaplain there is to meet some of the needs and concerns that can arise in a real-world event for a deployment. Deployments can happen under a lot of different circumstances, and they can prompt a lot of questions, concerns that airmen have. Things are going on in their personal life, in their family life, and at the moment where all of a sudden this becomes real and they're getting ready to get on a plane, there needs to be someone there that can meet them where they're at and, if necessary, step aside and talk about what's going on.
What resources do you have available for an airman who wants or needs to talk to a chaplain while they're in line at the PDF?
So a chaplain, while they're at the PDF line on the table, there are a number of religious resources and materials that are made available from several different religious traditions. So those are there in terms of basic material assistances that can be made available. The other thing that's available is if a chaplain sees someone needs to talk, they can step out of the PDF line and go to a designated space. It's another mandated requirement for a PDF line that there be a space designated for the chaplain, set aside, where the chaplain and an individual airman can, again, step out of the line, step aside, and talk about whatever's going on, and that airman can have some privacy and speak in the context of what in the chaplain corps we call privileged communication, which means if that airman just wants to talk to a chaplain and doesn't want what is said to leave that context, it doesn't. It also affords an opportunity for the airman to process any emotions that might be going on that, frankly, maybe they don't want everyone else watching that. They don't need an audience. They need to process their emotions. They need to process their thoughts and their concerns. And a chaplain is there, as well as a designated private space to do that.
And I noticed you had those materials out on the desk at the station. Are those materials free to take?
Right. In a real world setting, a PDF line is set up, and those materials that are supplied there, they are free to take, absolutely. And we do, of course, in our setting here, always have religious materials that are available to airmen that might come and be interested. They can also, if we don't have something they're looking for, we can find it.
What advice do you have for deploying airmen?
There's, of course, lots of advice. Everyone's going to come at this in a different way. So my first piece of advice is don't be afraid to make use of all the resources you have. Speak to as many airmen as you want to. Get advice from as many airmen as you can in terms of gaining advice on deploying. So spread your net wide and get a lot of advice from a lot of people. As a chaplain, I would zero in on, of course, the spiritual readiness piece. Everyone has an aspect of their spiritual lives. Give it some considered and intentional thought. And don't be surprised if in a deployed setting, questions that maybe haven't arisen before do arise. So don't be afraid to reach out to the chaplain in your deployed setting if questions arise, that you want to talk about. The other thing that I would zero in on is family and home life. Spend some time with the ones you love, with your family, and put your house in order. Make sure that whatever is going to happen while you're away, you'll be able to keep that relationship strong and thriving.
Thank you, Chaplain McDaniel. To find out more about what is going on around the wing, check out the 126th Air Refueling Wing Facebook page, including the video of the operations group's ribbon-cutting ceremony on their remodeled building, and see the pictures from the Illinois Air National Guard's deployment for flood duty to East Cape Girardeau. Thanks for listening to the 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast, focus on mission, people, and community. I'm Tech Sergeant Brian Ellison with the 126th Public Affairs Office.